Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Comics Preview Show, a show that almost didn't happen because I actually, first off, I forgot to set up the show, but also me and my man, Matt, Dr. Matt, we were busy doing the Marvel podcast. We were recording the Marvel podcast. We got all tangled up in the mess that is The Amazing Spider-Man and One World Under Doom. And then I thought, oh, crap, I got to get going. We ended up where it went longer than we thought the show would go. And then I ended up realizing what time it was. And then I thought, oh, well, I kind of didn't set it up anyway. So am I late when I didn't set it up? But I did feel bad. I did feel bad that I'm a bit late with this. And I will apologize. At the beginning here, it's the same as usually. I don't have anything set up. Because I'm telling you, we just got done 2 seconds ago. We just got done recording the whole Marvel podcast. And Lane asked if I almost fell down the stairs. Actually, I almost did earlier. I had problems with my dog and all of these things. And Lane has his own stream tonight as well, so that stinks, but it's good that you have your own stream to go to. And I wish that I could go to that as well. But we're going to talk about the things that will be coming out, talk about some things that I'm looking forward to. It doesn't mean it has to be what you're looking forward to. Maybe you are looking forward to some other things. Let me know what those are in the comments below, as they say. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that, and also hit the notification so that you will know when I suddenly, out of nowhere, come flying in with a show, is what ends up happening. Because again, this is very much on the fly. But that's kind of, I explained this in one of the times we were talking, is I can never follow a schedule, though I desperately try to. But again, I was doing some stuff. And I don't like to do things and say, oh, I have to go. I hate to cut things short if you're doing something like a podcast or things like that. That's what leads you to doing 13-hour podcast or 4.5-hour live streams. But I like things to naturally end. But we'll talk about some of the things. And Fear Monarch ends up saying, quick, Jim, tell me what I need to buy. Well, when we get to Marvel, I'll tell you maybe what not to buy. Again, I don't like this show to be a review show. Obviously, the books come out in a couple days, but I might give you some hints of what might be good or bad, or some of these things are really bad. And if you have listened to our Marvel podcast, I would hope that people would realize that I rarely curse on that podcast. And actually, I think that maybe they might realize one thing. With Eric leaving, I probably curse a lot less. He would curse a lot, and I would end up kind of just going from there. But if you notice anything that I do with other people, I will rarely curse. I'll say some words, but not really a lot, as much as the DC deal. This Marvel podcast, I felt bad afterwards. I was dropping F-bombs. I was yelling and screaming. Still have some things to record. Me and Gray are going to record some stuff, and I have to get a hold of Sully. So I think there will be some things that will be worth looking forward to. But we'll get to that in a second, because we do start with DC over here in these parts. And that's what we'll do as I load up this. There's a bunch of DC books, some pretty cool stuff happening over there, right? Hey, everybody love that. Here is what I'm going to start with, though. I'm looking forward to Absolute Wonder Woman number 7, something that me and Gray, actually Gray can't do it this week. So I do believe I'll be doing these with Zach, but we'll see. But I'll still, even if somebody wasn't available, I'll still be doing our Absolute DC show on Friday, live stream, 7:15. And certainly we'll be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman. Absolute Martian Manhunter is coming out as well. I will not talk about that tonight. Absolute Wonder Woman number 7, that was written by Kelly Thompson, and the great art of Mattea De Lulis, which I'm telling you, when Hayden Sherman comes back, there's going to be some people that are really disappointed, because, boy, the art in that last issue was stupendous, superb, as they say, and I really, really liked it. Though, again, Hayden Sherman I was getting used to it. I really like his art on Dark Patterns. I think it really fits that well. But here is the solicit. And as we go through these, I will give you the creative team, also the price. This is $4.99. And then I'll go through the solicit and also remind you that once again, I'm losing my voice, but I came prepared. I have straight up shots of vodka all lined up. Actually, I have water, but I'll pretend. I'll be like Van Halen when supposedly sometimes they would put like iced tea in a Jack Daniels bottle so they could gun it. Diana has escaped the underworld once before. Can she do it again? It's a moment Diana and Cersei have always known would come, but when the time actually arrives, the price may be higher than one of them is willing to pay. What, you mean a leg? Now that she already gave an arm, so we could have an arm and a leg? You get it? Yeah, maybe. Plus, part 2 of Little Diana, with the art by the legendary Dustin Le Guin. I could do without the Little Diana. It's kind of cool. I always love that sort of play, but I kind of maybe want more of the Absolute Wonder Woman because, boy, it's good. I really do enjoy it. And lo and behold, though some people did argue, and when it did come out, we're taken aback that Diana was in hell. Obviously, it wasn't her choice. And she was a kid, and as Pat Benatar sang, hell is for children. But in the meantime, she was forced there. They thought this would kill her, and it didn't. And lo and behold, Kelly Thompson seems to really get the character in my mind to show you really what Diana is all about by seeing how everybody reacted and how nice she made hell in that weird way. And I thought, boy, that's really cool. And in the lay of the land right now, you get either Tom King or you get Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm choosing Absolute Wonder Woman. If Tom King said, don't you want to read my book? I would just look him in the face and say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Because that can also be my catchphrase. And Goody Two-Shoes said the Little Diana was okay. I think it was fun. I actually love those things. If you are reading the deluxe edition of The Walking Dead, you have small bites in that. I think they're great. And I love like Tiny Titans, Back to the Treehouse, and the Little Gotham. I love those things. I can't stress how much those things are all for me. But in this book, I kind of just want more Absolute Wonder Woman. So if you have a couple extra pages, I kind of wish that you have a couple extra pages of story there, but it's fine. It doesn't ruin anything. But again, it's just a cute little deal. I like the little books. It's like when I go, my rap name, Little Hump. But you end up where I am looking forward to that. Martian Manhunter, I am not. Though I will tell you, I am hoping that I like it more than the first issue and hoping that, I could kind of like it as much as some other people have. I know that a lot of people like it more than me. I've said it before many a time. I'm not necessarily an art guy. I'm more of a story and character guy, and I didn't get much of that from that first issue. I think that it was a lot of art, 99%. I think that if that art was taken away, I think that book falls apart and nobody's talking about it. But the art was very, spectacular, fantastical, or whatever you'd say. So in the meantime, I didn't really like the book and got criticized for just saying I didn't understand what was going on with Martian Manhunter. But I don't know why Simon had to, start, getting on my ass about it, because the play was, I don't think you were supposed to know. It's supposed to be a mystery wrapped in an enigma and a whisper down the lane. And Fear Monarch says, and to go with Goody Two-Shoes, Fear Monarch just said there's an incentive cover of Little Diana on it. I'd definitely pick that up. Like, I love the deal. I want more Absolute, especially at the beginning of this. Though I would love to see Absolute Batman kick Little Diana into the ocean. That would be hilarious. It would. And Dungeon Crawler Carl says that he thinks that you have to be high to like the Martian Manhunter. And I would think that Dennis Camp would give you 2 thumbs up for that. Because I remember Dennis Camp blocked me on Twitter. Not really an interaction. I do think that he probably heard one of the reviews or even saw the reviews. Gabe does the reviews. And it was probably that, because most of these guys will go to the Comic Book Roundup and they'll see things. And Gabe does the Weird Science reviews on the website. So it's not like he's down with Gabe. It just he sees the thing. So he blocked me. So when I saw that, I ended up, and if you are following him and you do read his tweets, it was at a point where I was already getting annoyed with him anyway, because things would pop up in my feed. But what I said was, damn, now I won't be able to find out those crazy names that Dennis Camp and his buddies at college called their pot. Because he had gone through like 2 weeks of, we called this the Omega Blast. And then we called this the Super Mega Blast. I'm like, this is probably only good or funny to somebody else who's high. And unfortunately, I'm not high. So there. Also, I saw a picture of him for one con, and the guy needs to wash his hair. Unlike Ram V, luscious hair. Luscious hair. That guy has. But Barlord says, I will never get why creators have such a thin skin and read reviews. Some of them, I talked about Steve Orlando used to read my reviews specifically, and actually then reached out at one point and asked my opinion of something that he was writing or he wanted to do at DC. It was when he was on Wonder Woman, and asked me, do you think this would go good? And I really appreciated it. And then I wanted to check. I'm still waiting for this check to come in, the residuals. Actually, at one point too, Steve Orlando, one of the stories that I tell a lot, he ended up doing a Wonder Woman. It was when he was on Wonder Woman, and suddenly, I think it was Phantom Stranger, somebody shows up in an issue, and it made no damn sense. I mean, it made no sense. And so in the review, I said, this makes no damn sense. He just showed up. It feels like this was just thrown in. I don't get it. It goes against the story. And Steve Orlando actually sent me a DM, and he said, thank you for understanding that made no damn sense. It was something that an editor forced him to put in a book, legit, because an editor saw a cover that was never used, then said to Steve Orlando, put that person in it. Didn't know even who Phantom Stranger was, which is mind-blowing for a DC editor. And Steve Orlando said, I can't do that. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. And the guy basically said, you do it or we'll get somebody else on the book who will, like threaten. And that was when he realized, screw this, and was really upset at the people. But here we go. The little, everybody's talking about the little things, the little bits. But we'll go with the next book. See, it's already taken too long. I got to get more focused here. The next book is something that I was not that hip on. The first issue, it's Batman 159. It's Hush 2-2. I hate that Hush 2 like symbol thing that they do, where it's just the 2 on the U. And I think that Bono is pissed. Edge is suing. But it is, it's Hush. If people were disappointed with the first issue of Hush 2, I might tell them to go read Hush, because that story wasn't great. It looked great. There were some really cool things. What it was all about, because me and Matt on our Patreon, we went through it just recently. We finished the week that the Hush 2 came out. It was more about guest stars, one bigger than the other, to kind of go in, and for Batman to just demand that it wasn't Tommy Elliott until it was. That's my whole synopsis of Hush. And when you do read Hush, if you've read Hush recently, getting ready for this Hush 2, Jim Lee's art's still good. Boy, it's not what it was. And I don't know if it's time, because usually for one issue, I think I heard the last time he said he needs at least 17 years to do one issue. But it was like the backgrounds, everything. It was still good, this first one, but not like it was. But it is Batman 159, Jeff Loeb writing, art by Jim Lee, $4.99. After the shocking events of the last issue, Batman must make the hardest decision of his life, guest starring Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood. That's what I'm saying. That's basically what all this was about. Now, at this point, he's like, it can't be Tommy Elliott. It can't be. We'll see. We'll see what it goes. I've also seen him. Well, usually, though, I love the idea, like when in Joshua Williamson's Batman and Robin, when you have Shush, and then he's like, it has to deal with Hush. It has to deal with Hush because it's Shush. And you're like, really? Like, that's so sad. And then it was. He was right, because he's Batman. Batman is always right until he isn't. The next one is a Green Lantern, number 22, written by Jeremy Adams, art by Zermanico. It's $4.99, and it's Hector Hammond versus Hal Jordan as the confrontation comes to a head. The confrontation that never started yet. It comes to a head. This solicit feels weird. I read this at the end of our DC show, and you have the Fractured Spectrum. You have Nate Dogg, the Sorrow Lantern. You have Starbird. You have all these things that are huge. And now we're going to deal with Hector Hammond, which is a big thing in the Green Lantern verse. But why not wait? Why not wait till you're done, or at least going through this whole Fractured Spectrum, which is the cool thing. I really think it's really cool. And then you're like, okay, let's go aside with this. And then the solicits say the confrontation comes to a head. It hasn't started. He was just there in the lab injecting crap into his head, making it big. And then it says, while Kyle Rayner's Superboy and Odyssey come across a Reach outpost and a mysterious stranger. And if you're a guy and you're lonely, you know what that's all about, right? You got that? I'm looking forward to that. I really do like the Green Lantern book. Right now, I think the Green Lantern Corps book's fantastic. I really, really like that book. I like the characters. I like Odyssey, too, in the Green Lantern here. And I really do like the combo of Kyle, Connor, and Odyssey. I actually told a guy today, Luke Hollywood, he does the manga stuff with me. He also sleeps a lot and he's a drunk. But we were talking, Kyle Rayner's his favorite character. He's still waiting for Kyle Rayner Volume 3, by the way. It's never coming out. And I mentioned to him, hey, you should read it because he's on our Patreon. I've talked to him forever. And a lot of these people who were on the Patreon from the get-go, a lot of them still are, which I give them full credit, right? But they're not really reading DC anymore. And I said, you should read, Kyle Rayner. He's in the Green Lantern Corps. And he said, is Volume 3 coming out? It's not coming out. And then he said, screw it. Yeah, and Fear Monarch actually asked, we legit recorded today, and we talk about it. He actually sent me a message this afternoon and ended up saying, hey, just like on Easter, I've risen from the dead. I'm like, really? Like, you're going to throw that in there? He says it at the beginning of the podcast, too. But I end up where when Luke Hollywood gets a hold of you, you have a very small window of opportunity. If you do not record your manga podcast with him at that point, you may have to wait for another month because it's been a month since I've talked to him. Out of the blue, we did do the Marvel Monday, so I have to edit that. I got a bunch of things I got to do. Still haven't edited last week's Marvel podcast. I got to record some things for that. I gotta do some things. Since Eric left, I'm really busy. I am. But yeah, Green Lantern number 22. I'm looking forward to Jeremy Adams. Most people love him, though. If you say everybody, I will inform you that's not true. And there is a weird contingent on the League of Comic Book Geeks that every time any book by Jeremy Adams is coming up, they'll get in there and start yelling at him that he stole this book from Mariko Tamaki, who was supposed to be writing it. And I am here to tell you that is 100% false. He stole nothing. Whatever happened, she bailed or they kicked her off. That had nothing to do with him. And then they offered the book to him, and he almost didn't take it. He thought that it might be a little bit too big for him, but he had just recently been kicked off of Flash, so he did take it because if you do turn down an offer like a Green Lantern, they stop offering things to you like a Green Lantern. And I was actually looking at some of the messages that he sent me at that point and ended up kind of having like real cold feet about doing Green Lantern. Now, this was a decision he would have to make on his own, but I did encourage him. And I said that he would do great. He did some of the, cartoon stuff and whatnot. I said, you'll do fine. You'll do fine. And yes, I like it. I like it. Not as much as some people. I don't think it's a, perfect book, but I really, really do like it. And that's the thing. Jeremy Adams is the writer that we met along the way. He's the writer that we don't necessarily need, but we want. I don't know. He stole our hearts, says Fear Monarch. And yeah, he is on a roll. I should ask him if I could I should come on and do a thing about him and end up putting this one DM that he sent me where he legit felt like he was saying goodbye, saying, listen, I think I'm not going to be in comics anymore. Thanks a lot for your support. At one point I did see today, he actually said that he had gone to a couple cons and legit more than half of the people that he talked to said that the reason why they picked it up is because they heard us talk about it on the podcast and begging people to go and listen to it. And I would think that the other half was probably Wes at Thinking Critical. Me and Wes both were going on and on to people and begging them to read The Flash because it was so good. And even some of the issues that I didn't like, you could still tell how much he loved it and how much fun he was having. So I really did enjoy it. And he is on a roll from going there where he said, I think that it's over. I don't think I'm going to be writing comics. I even said to him at that point, you should do like creator-owned. Everybody's kicking and starting. And he said, I really don't have a name for that. Nobody's going to know my name, so I think it's just better. He has his other stuff that he does, the animation stuff, whatever. So he was just going to go back to that. And I kind of really felt bad for him. I even sent a a message to a guy, an editor that I talked to, begging them that why don't you just make like, if you have Cy Spurrier that was going to go on, let him do Barry and then have a Wally book that's the Wally West Fastest Man Alive and let Jeremy Adams continue there. And the guy says, that's a great idea, and then never did anything with it because, that's how they are. And yeah, his Aquaman's really good as well. It's a big book. I just like reading his books. They're fun. They don't get tangled up in a lot of nonsense, and they're just superhero stuff. So I do enjoy that a lot. But we'll move on to the next book. And the next book is, what would it be? Oh, we're actually going, that's it for DC. Hey, everybody, we're going to go off to Marvel now because all of this is a well-oiled machine of what all the things are going on. And you might laugh because this is a preview show. And you might say, Jim, I thought you said these are the books that you're looking forward to. Why are you talking about Marvel? And I would say to you, I don't know. But actually, I'd say to you, there's always good books. You just have to look for them. You have to seek out. But also, there are big books. There are huge books and books that you want to get better and books that you hope would get better, but somehow they still kick you right in the balls because of it. But we're going to start at Marvel with the big one, Amazing Spider-Man #2, written by Joe Kelly, art by Pepe Larraz, $4.99. It says Rhino Rampage. What amped Rhino up from criminal super bruiser to rampaging disaster machine? We aren't spilling, but it just amped up Spider-Man. When we go through this, I'm not gonna spoil anything. I've already reviewed the deal. You could guess at my score, and I don't think you're gonna be able to figure it out. But the whole play, I'll tell you if we do find, we kind of find that out in a weird way. What amped up Rhino from his criminal super bruiser, but it doesn't make sense overall in my mind. That's right. Spider-Man is going in and out of control of his senses, trying to figure out how to get control of his body. Kind of happens. It kind of plays out as dreamscape. And the only people who can help are Norman Osborn and Peter's long-lost childhood best friend. Norman's in it. Norman ends up checking Peter's blood. And it's a weird scene. The Norman-Peter relationship since Zeb Wells, and even Zeb Wells at the end tried to swerve it a different direction. At one point, and we went through it on the podcast, but at one point, Norman makes Peter work with him at Oscorp because he needs somebody to keep an eye on in case he goes back to Goblin. Then he says to Peter, listen, you're a good guy. You don't even have to show up for work. You have a job for life. I'm going to give you this huge salary. You never have to show up if you don't want to. And I thought, okay, that's kind of the place so that he can go and do things. And you're not like, why isn't he at work or whatever? Then when you had the Goblin jumping through everybody, I said jumping through hoops. Also, I think at one point during that story, I was the Goblin, and Fear Monarch might have been as well because everybody was. You ended up where Norman then signed off Oscorp to Peter and Spider-Man. So that you have that. Then at the end of Zeb Wells' run, you had a weird plague after all that where Peter's like, I don't have a job. Norman says, you can work with me. And Peter says, I'll never work with you, you jerk. I didn't know what was going on. My head was spinning. And then you have him in this where he's looking for jobs, but now he's still best friends with Norman. It's really weird. But I have read the issue. I guess, is it spoiling the idea that I didn't like it? And I think that people will probably lose their mind. I don't know. I could barely make head or tails of it. It was very, very disappointing. It's very convoluted. The way he tells the story just doesn't work very well. So that was some problems. But everybody, if you already are going to get it, please. Don't rely on me. You might like it more than I did. Edward Awas said, I missed the DC section and got here just in time for Marvel Sadness. There's actually, I'd say, it's not all sadness. We will get to a couple books that I really do like that I'll be talking about this week as well. And Borlord says everyone's waiting for Norman to become the Goblin again. It's kind of hinted at this. You have a weird deal. Also, if you end up, this, again, I don't want to spoil things, but sometimes, loose lips that I have, they do sink ships sometimes. But there was a scene in the first issue where you had Hobgoblin. You end up having Roderick, and he's talking to what I said was a shadowy entity. But other people said, "Oh, no, no, that was just like Goblin." It was almost like in the movies, the idea that that was kind of his persona. He was talking to himself and whatnot. So me and Wes actually fought about this. And I said, "Wes, you're a moron. It's not, it's an entity. You can tell the way it played out." And he's like, "No, no, you're the moron." Well, guess who was right? I was right. But wait till everybody sees who this is. It was one of the bigger thuds that I had. So on the podcast, I have a whole, like I could have said that was a thud and hit that, right? Instead, I wanted to do practical effects. So I'm yelling, and then I said, "It's like this." And I slammed my foot on the ground because I know I have to do it really loud for anybody to hear. And I hurt my damn foot is what happened, but I did make it thud. Pretty cool. But yeah, it's a weird. I don't want. That's the thing. I couldn't spoil this because nobody would have guessed it. But there are hints. There's one hint, but nobody's going with it. It's weird. If anybody talks to me, I'd love to hear somebody who is a Joe Kelly fan and a Spider-Man fan to ask if they would like this character returning. That's what it is. But it is an entity, and there's some weird things going on. So we'll move on to the next book, and the next book, of course, would be the big event. I'm getting the good ones out of the way first, right? Everybody's loving this One World Under Doom. Yeah, right? Is anybody hyped for this event at all? I mean, at all. Also, just as an aside, we'll go back to DC a bit. I think it was Edward. You said you missed the DC. We'll go back for a second so you can catch some of that DC magic. Did anybody know that this week you're going to be starting what is a Flash event in the Cy Spurrier book? Was it this week or last week? No, it's this week. I don't even know when it comes out. I don't even read it anymore. And I try to read everything, especially from DC. But they're starting a event, the Bad Moon Rising event. And I was like, he says who? What kind of event is that? But yeah, there you go. But One World Under Doom, a 9-month event that fell flat after 1 month. That's bad. What it reminds me, it's like if I'm going to put this in a perspective of a normal deal, it's like you go out on a date, you have a blind date, you start off, and immediately you know that you end up hating this person, but unfortunately you had tickets to the Flyers or something. You're there and you have to sit through a game. You're there for another 3 hours. And you already knew that nothing is happening and you just don't like this person. They don't like you. And you just sit there silently, just sitting there. Legit, that happened to me once. That's why I said the Flyers. I ended up where me and this girl went to a Flyers Islanders game back in the day. And it just started out like really bad. And I think she might have, I don't want to end up sounding like a whatever, but I think she still kind of wanted to get involved. I did not like her at all. Not at all. But yeah, that's what this event feels like. That stupid date I went on way back in the day. Did see a one of the last bench clearing brawls at that point. It was pretty fun. That was a cool deal. But One World Under Doom, number 3, Ryan North, RB Silva on art. It's $4.99. The art's okay. The Avengers, I've read and reviewed this as well. The Avengers have faced Doom and they lost, but Earth still needs avenging. And it's not just the heroes that dislike having Doom in charge. And so heroes and villains unite against Doom, intent on taking him down once and for all. But that's not all. A simultaneous magic attack reveals the shocking truth of how Doom took over the world, with terrifying implications for how others might or might not take it from him. However, Doom's mind, vast and cool and unsympathetic, is not the only one regarding Earth with envious eyes. And that is, yes, an accurate solicit, but it really doesn't tell the whole story, because nothing does, because there's no story to it. And in it, you end up continuing kind of what we had before, where you can sit there. And the weird play, though, is, and me and Matt talked about it, I don't like to get political on our comic book podcast. It's always going to turn some people off. It's one of those things. Again, I'm a little older, or maybe a lot older, but I was always told you don't talk about religion and politics. That's the two big ones. And you'd never ask somebody how much they make at their job. Nowadays, I swear to God, everybody's just like, what do you make? There's videos about it. And then there's also the idea of everybody just wants to talk about politics and things like that. And I've never actually seen, especially now, especially in the US, I have not seen anything in person, or I haven't seen the video where you go up to somebody and say, I support so-and-so. And then the other person says, I support the other person. And then those two people give a high five, shake hands, and they're best friends. I haven't seen that one yet. And that's what gets me upset, is the idea also when I was a kid. I remember my dad and his buddy fighting about politics. And it was a fight like people used to fight. It was just kind of like a ribbing, a little ribbon. And then also, they would talk some issues and things like that. But at the end of the day, they were still friends and realized that it's just what it is, and really ends up with, hey, we're all screwed. But yeah, so I still end up with this whole play of, I don't like talking, but something like this Doom book, it ends up kind of forcing the issue. But you could sit there and I will tell everybody that the first issue, we'll talk about it here. I'll mention names. This doesn't mean you don't know who I support, and I don't, whatever. Or I may. See, there you go. See, it's already got, this is the crap that you have to like jump through and whatever. But the first book, a lot of people said, oh, we get it. Doom is Trump. But then the next issue, Ryan North kind of does a swerve, and it doesn't feel like that. Then you have this issue where you find out something and you're like, I don't know what the hell this is all about. So if you do sit there and keep thinking, oh, we get it, Doom, Trump, oh my God, I don't know. And in fact, I think that what is going on is that Ryan North is really pointing out the fact of, hey, get this, we're all assholes. You're an asshole, I'm an asshole, we're all assholes. But what he does in the book is make the heroes look like complete maroons. The Fantastic Four, completely moronic. Anybody who thinks you're going to bust into the side of the UN like you're the Kool-Aid man and try to beat up who, unfortunately, at this point seems to be the emperor of the world, you think that's going to look good. It's not. And what I said in this happens kind of with the Avengers in this book. And what I said to Matt when we were talking about it is, usually in these books, you end up where Doom will do something and trick the heroes into looking like schmucks. This is his plan all along. He set this up to look bad. They show up, they do something, boom. In this one, though, they're just idiots. They're not being tricked. They're just idiots. And they do it again. And I swear one of the scenes we already saw. And I swear to God also, the Avengers up to this point, my joke is that their big thing is we've done nothing yet and we're all out of ideas. They just start hammering away on that Latveria bubble, and then Doom comes out. But what you find out in this will be the idea of kind of how Doom took over. And again, it swerves things all over. But in the meantime, I say it in the podcast. I'm not going to get too into it here, but I do talk about it if you hear it. What it really feels like he's saying the Avengers and the Fantastic Four are really twists and turns things really a weird way politically. And the book makes me uncomfortable talking about it. But Edward says, I still try reading Flash. He's been fighting Eclipso for like 8 months with Warlord, so I don't know who decided this is a new Flash event. But you're correct, the Flash event starts this week. Yeah, he starts this whole thing. And I saw somebody on the comic book, League of Comic Geeks, and saying, man, if I'm going to have to deal with Eclipso, I'd rather deal with it with Cy Spurrier because he's a genius. And that shit that you ended up having from Jeremy Adams was bullcrap. Like, you and you only think that. Like, seriously. DC, that's one of their biggest mistakes. That's one of their biggest mistakes. One of the other biggest mistakes was firing Dan Didio, but not just firing Dan Didio without having another plan. They had no idea what they were going to do, but they needed to fire him because they wanted that to be the big thing. And we were caught up in a lot of stuff at that point. So it's like, oh my God, we're going to do this huge thing and fire him. And then everybody sat around. What do we do next? I don't know. Let's go and see if Dan left anything in his desk. Oh, we'll turn the 5G that we're actually firing Dan Didio for, and we'll use that and make it in a future state. That seems good. Yeah, 1 minute war. was pretty good. That's what my wife calls me and her in the sack. I'll tell you. Oh, God. Hey, it's late night. It's late night time here, but One World Under Doom. If you like it so far, you probably like this issue, but I thought it was a lot of nothing. But those are the two books that I ended up reviewing already. The rest I've not read, so I won't spoil anything, and I know nothing about them. And there are a couple of other books at Marvel that I will be reviewing, but also I'll be looking forward to. I'm hitting these right now so that I can tell you what they will be. The first one will be something that I'm sure Gabe will give a 9, because that's what he gives everything Predator. Predator versus Spider-Man, #1, written by Ben Percy, art by Marcelo Ferreira. It's $5.99, which, in these days, either you get that or 3 eggs is what you get for that money. Target, Spider-Man and Predator's grittiest series yet. In Predator vs. Wolverine, we saw a single Predator stalk Earth's greatest prey, the killing machine Wolverine. That was okay. It started out okay. It ended up in a dud. In Predator vs. Black Panther, Yautja invaded Wakanda and nearly dethroned its king. That story I thought was garbage. Now Ben Percy turns his twisted brain and scowl, because the guy never smiles. You ever see that guy? Real deep voice, too. To Marvel's most beloved property, Spider-Man. Really? Somebody tell Nick Lowe. Right? A heat wave sends New York City into a blackout, and Spider-Man on patrol as tempers boil across the city. It's like do the right thing. They were all sweating in that movie. Everybody was pissed off. But beneath, especially Radio Raheem, he got real pissed off. But beneath its grimy sewers and subways lurks a threat unlike anything Peter Parker's faced before, introducing Skinner, a predator of no honor and no clan, only a thirst for blood. I think that's why I'm not really loving these books, because it ends up where I'm like, who are these predators? Oh, Skinner? Principal Skinner? Maybe. He's there and he's counting the newspapers and dribbling the ball and then trying to best his record each time. Yeah. I'm going to be reviewing this for the podcast, probably make a video for it as well with Gray. So we'll have that going. We'll see. I'm starting to worry about that one now. But the next 2 books are books that I've been reading and I've been really enjoying. And they're books that me and Sully have been reviewing. The first, Eddie Brock Carnage #3. I think this might be one of the sleeper hits going right now. I like it. I like it a lot. It's pretty much Dexter meets Carnage. I think it's a cool idea. Charles Soule, Jesus Saez on art, $3.99. Carnage versus Bushwhacker. Eddie and Carnage's hunt for serial killers has led them straight to Bushwhacker. We saw that last issue. It's time for Eddie to prove he's the biggest, baddest host a murderous symbiote could ask for. Carnage is out for blood, and he doesn't care whose it is. And yeah, I like it. I actually really do like that book a lot. I think it's really cool, and it has that twist. It does play off like basically Dexter with Carnage, but I think it works pretty well. And I'm looking now, you have Ed said, do we get a Predator spin on with Paul? Fingers crossed. That'd be great. Just the first page, the Predator just rips apart Paul. Would be hilarious. Fear Monarch says, I kill one Predator, and then the next day I try and beat that record is what it is. And I'm telling you, in these books with Ben Percy, especially that Predator showed up in the Black Panther one, it's like, are these like the cast-offs? Like, did they kick them off the deal? I'm not a real big Predator fan, so I don't know much about Predator, but I don't know. It just feels weird. And then that Predator series where every time I looked, I'm like, the Predator is the main character? Get out of town. Barlord says if Mary Jane feeds Paul to Carnage, all is forgiven. Yeah, they'd have her like be guilty about it and stuff like that. Have her do it like she's high as shit and she doesn't remember and blame somebody else. That's what I would do. Yeah, Dennis Camp would write that story. He's probably already writing it as we speak. But yeah, the whole Carnage Eddie Brock I do enjoy. And this next book I do enjoy too. And I read the first issue and I was like, I don't know about this. And actually said in the review that what this is Sabretooth meets Gangs of New York. And then I apologized while I was talking with Sully about it. I said, I don't want to say that because it really seems to maybe lessen what the writer's doing. Frank Thierry, who's the writer, then ended up telling me that that was, in fact, the pitch. So he didn't mind. Also, I really have to cough. This is when I really rely on having somebody else that can talk while I cough. And I'm back. I got to take a drink of water, though. I have my water, or I said vodka. Yes. I got 4 gallons of water because right now we don't have any running water in the house because it's being redone. And I went to go get it, and I was going to bring back, there are these big things from Aldi. And I went to get it. They were all missing. I didn't know where they were. I went up. My son Rafe took all the water. And I said, what's going on? Like, I got that water. He goes, oh, I didn't know it was yours. You knew it wasn't yours, though. So what gives? That's what I'm telling him. And then he said, well, I needed to give some water to his dog, Miles. And then I felt bad. So I let him keep one. Let him keep the one. But I was upset. But Sabretooth the Dead Don't Talk, number 5 is written by Frank Thierry. Art by Michael St. Maria. The one time I got that right. It's that I would normally say sta and then say, I know it's something else or whatever. But I do think that Gray might have told me. And it kind of stuck then. Michael St. Maria. It's $3.99. Burn, baby, burn. After the stunning events of the last issue, Sabretooth is out for revenge. His lady love got sliced up. And if he has to burn down the entirety of Coney Island to get it, then so be it. Will he finally defeat the Crocodilian? I know I don't like that name of that. And I don't like the Crocodilian, though. When he did rip his lady love, it was pretty funny, wasn't it? I'm actually trying to get a sound effect. I thought it would be pretty funny, but I shouldn't say that because then it's not as funny that I said it and I spelt the thing wrong. Damn it! I thought it'd be pretty cool. Oh well, I don't have it. Let me see. We'll keep speaking here. Oh yeah, that Crocodilian. That guy was crazy. He's like a crocodile, for crying out loud. He is, and I still can't find it. I guess. I don't have it. I thought I did. I don't know. Oh, there it is. It's because I spelled it different in the deal. I'm going to say that again. He's going to burn down the entirety of Coney Island.
What we doing, Coney Island?
See, there you go. It's perfect. It worked. Will he finally defeat the Crocodilian? Will he end up being the king of the 1900s New York City underworld?
What we doing, Coney Island?
Or will he be back collecting bodies for Mr. Sinister? And how will this all affect his greatest foe, Wolverine, in the present? Find out in the shocking, blood-soaked conclusion of that book.
What we doing, Coney Island?
I love that. I think that's funny. The last bit from Marvel is Deadpool Wolverine number 4, another Ben Percy book. Also art by Joshua Cassara. I'm not loving this one. And also I get it mixed up with, I think right now, at last count, 7 million Deadpool Wolverine books. This is one of them. And I do believe that I'll be talking about this with Gray on our podcast. Written by Ben Percy, Joshua Cassara, $3.99. A Time of Strife. Strife. Get it? Strife knows that what calamity awaits the planet because he's been there. And he might have even done that. And he needs Deadpool and Wolverine to stop it. But what could force our heroes to work for this tyrant as his executioners? Perhaps because they already have.
What we doing, Coney Island?
It's getting annoying very quickly. We'll hit something else here. Here we go.
Bing bang.
All righty. But yeah, we're going to be talking Deadpool Wolverine. It's okay. It's okay. It's not the greatest, but it's something. That is it, though, for the Marvel books. Now I'm going to have to actually just in real time go through all these to see what we're going to get and what I'm looking forward to from the side of the indies. And as I go through this, I do see something. I'm going to put this in there. I'm kind of optimistically intrigued. We'll see how it is. It's Giant Size Wacky Races number 1. When they had the stuff at DC and there was that Wacky Races book, it was awful. I got in so many fights with about that book. That book stunk. But I don't know. I'd pick up this. Yeah, Penelope Pitstop right there, showing some leg on the cover. Not really. It's written by Ivan Cohen. Art by Mariano Benitez Chapo. Oh, no, it's a Chapo. You have it $4.99, which is it's probably $2 too much. I know it says 40 pages of story, but still, it's Wacky Racers, and you don't need to charge somebody $5 for that. But featuring 40 pages of story and art, Thrilled to the all-new Adventures of Penelope Pitstop. The giant one-shot features 3 thrilling chapters. You also don't need 3 thrilling chapters. You just give us one. Give us one, $2.99 even, and maybe you do a little better. That take us on a high-octane adventure from writer Ivan Cohen and superstar artist in the making. Isn't everybody a superstar artist in the making? Mariano Benitez Chapo. Oh, no, Chapo. Featuring a race for the ages with tough and beautiful Penelope, handsome and mysterious Peter Perfect, and of course Dick Dastardly, I like to call him Richard, and a new look at Muttley. They're going to screw with Muttley. All of this action and high-speed adventure, I would laugh like Muttley, but I would cough for 3 hours. Under 3 covers. Joseph Michael Linsner, Egal Galmon, and Robert Hack, not Robert Stack. Ivan Cohen has, what is it? Then it goes on. Holy moly, I'm stopping there. This solicit, you got to check out the solicit. They go through a whole thing of Ivan Cohen has written titles starring something. And then it tells you what the Wacky Races is. It was okay. I didn't love the Wacky Racers, but it was okay. But for $5 now, that is not happening. And now I'm looking with the comments. I like the Dungeon Carl. Crikey. Yes, a crocodilian. It is. I don't know what accent that was. Hello, love. It's the crocodilian. It is. Barlord says, what's up with Ben Percy seemingly getting to the bottom of the barrel? I don't know. The thing with the Predator, I remember because I did a news podcast when that happened. And at one point in that, I still remember that he was talking about how much he loved Predator. And he said that as a kid, him and his buddies, I'm telling you, the way that he explained this, it was so goofy. The idea, we went out and played Predator. And then he explained kind of what that meant, and it made no damn sense. I'm like, he's just making this up. There's no way he did this. It was so odd. But there you go. He played Predator. And we'll go through and Dungeon Crawler Carl said Bug Wars, and if that is there, I'm down with it. And Edward Hawa has a super chat that says, "It another big indie week. Flash Gordon Quarterly, Solomon King, Bug Wars, and G.I. Joe. It also Shame Reed, Gatchaman One Shot, and Halo and Hornsby. I like Gatchaman. I like to call it Battle of the Planets myself, but I also didn't like Halo and Hornsby and dropped that very quickly. That was not interesting to me, and there were already enough Ghost Machine books that I really did like. I didn't want to taint the well. The book that I really need to pick up is that Rockefellers. That book has to start doing something, or else that's going to get dropped too. And I do like Peter J. Tomasi. I just think that he's better with characters than actual story, something that ends up getting me in trouble sometimes. But we're going to go to the next book, and lo and behold, I see Bug Wars there. But we have something before, something that me and Wes over at Thinking Critical talk about all the time. We both love it. He was the one who got me into it, and I really do like it. It's TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures number 24, and it's really good. If you like the cartoon, you should get it. If you like the Turtles, you should get it. It's a really well-done book, and it's fun. Feels like episodes of the cartoon. Written by Eric Burnham, art by Sarah Meyer. And if you want to, don't ask me which cartoon. I'm talking way back. But again, I don't know which is which and what is what. And it's $3.99. In order to bring the Pantheon to Earth and kick off his plans for conquest, Old Hob has been working with Krang to repair a damaged interdimensional portal. Instead of opening the gateway to the dimension that the Pantheon is stranded in, their efforts cause a wibble wobble in the space-time continuum, something that not only returns to Krang one of the evil Ultram's most prized possessions, but also delivers 3 evil Nega-Turtles to New York City. I guess we all know who the Heroes in a Half show will be facing off against this month. There you go. I want to have that crossover where you end up having MODOK versus Krang. Be kind of funny. I think it'd be kind of neat little deal, right? You get it? But yeah, I like that book. It's really good. It's one of those, I'm not going to say it's a mind bender, But it's definitely good in what I do. It's one of the last ones I'll read. It's a very good palate cleanser. It's a really good book to, when you get done all the slogs and things like that, to just sit and smile and read it, because that's what it's for. Yeah. And Joseph Wolf said he loves TMNT, and the new issue was great. Yeah. Juan Ferrera's art's great. So good. And yeah, the dungeon crawler Carl said, I'm having problems talking all of a sudden. I think when you smell burnt feathers, that's good, right? And that's what they say. Yeah, Fear Monarch said that Saturday Morning Adventures did bring back Mona Lisa. It's Wild and Fantastic Love Letter to the 80s show. It was cool. And I actually thought, I don't know how many people are reading the book, but I thought some people were going to like pish posh that. It was really good. It is really, really a good time. And Lane is back. He is back. Yeah. Oh, we're doing fine. We're doing wonderful. We are. I'm losing my voice and I keep coughing, I think. And with that, I hope. Okay. I thought maybe I didn't unmute my mic. Thank God. I had a panic attack there for a second, but we'll move on to the next book. I said I already saw it there on the list because I'm going through and down the old comic book roundup. It's Bug Wars number 3. Actually, I'll say Bug Wars now. I am going to throw out a little shout out in a bit for a book that I didn't hate the first issue. So I'll do that after this. Bug Wars, though, Jason Aaron. And people don't like Jason Aaron, but yet most people love Batman Offworld. And it did take, I know a lot of people who I talk to who are just so against Jason Aaron. A lot of it is warranted. A lot of it was because each and everything leading up to Punisher and all that, saying, I'm done with this guy. Even Namor right now, it's so boring. But Batman Offworld was great, and Bug Wars is really good. I really, really like it a lot. And it's Jason Aaron, art by Leslie Hung and Rachel Cohen. It says $4.99. I'll pay that. It's good. You can get like one egg for that. Lost in the Yard. Prisoner of the Barbaric Beetle Clan, Slade Slaymaker, a name that should be very easy to remember. And for some reason, I always think it's not that, because that does not sound like a kid. Fights for his life against a horde of hungry mosquitoes with the mysterious spider witch, Wysta, or why? I guess it'd be Wysta, Wysta. I'm telling you, I even talked, when I talked about this with Wes and on our podcast, I love the Spider Witch Wysta. I think she's the coolest. By his side, and the marauding armies of the An Imperium coming to slaughter them all. Really cool cover. I like the idea that the brothers seem like Sid from Toy Story, and he is the be-all, end-all enemy of every bug. It's pretty crazy, but it's so fun, and it's cool. But it's fun, but it's also very adult. There's a lot of crazy language in that for my innocent ears to read, because my ears do all the reading. And here is what I'm going to give a shout out. Didn't like this first issue as much as some people that I saw. Some people were saying that it should get the Eisner for the next 20 years and possibly have everyone's child. But I didn't like it that much, but I thought it was okay. And it is Dennis Camp, who I don't really like. But Assorted Crisis Events number 2. The first issue was wacky, but it fit more in something like this. His pot-smoking storytelling kind of fits better in his own thing than I think it does with the Ultimates and that Martian Manhunter. But it's $3.99. Slaughterhouse 9.5. What stalks the blood-soaked kill floor? A dizzying, heartbreaking, hallucinogenic trip through the endless slaughterhouse. Again, sounds like a solicit where somebody, right after they wrote it, ran to Taco Bell. Witness a man's life cut up, ground down, and packaged for easy consumption. It's another complete done-in-one tale of time and people breaking down. This message brought to you by Red Heifer Meat Solutions. Your satisfaction is our first priority. I think that the problem with Dennis Camp is that, number one, he might smoke too much pot. But when he does, you get this idea. First off, you get the idea that everything you're saying and thinking is important or like fantastic. But then I also think he thinks that that's what like somebody like Grant Morrison does. And that's like the idea that I could just go right now and I'm like, I think I'm going to do some heroin. Next thing I'm writing the next Nevermind. It doesn't happen that way. It really doesn't. I think that he equates the, oh man, I get high, so that means I'm a thinker. or I get high and that means I can wow people like a Grant Morrison, whatever, and doesn't quite get it. But the first issue of that Assorted Crap, I don't know if anybody in the chat read it. I'm going to look right now. It wasn't bad. It was okay. And I'm looking where I'm looking here. I don't see anybody saying about anything with the poor Dennis Camp crisis event deal, but it's okay. But yeah, Fear Marty, that's what I'm saying. I think that what you have to do, you have to work at your craft a bit more than it seems like, and not think that you have solved everything by I'm going to be wacky and smoke a lot of pot and do that sort of thing. I don't think that works. Again, I could go drop some acid. I'm not going to be writing the next Sgt. Pepper's. I wish I could. Instead, I don't do drugs, never have, and I write dirty songs. See, that's what you get. You gotta hone your craft a bit. I did have somebody tell me this week about my dirty songs. The person said legit, hey, when you first started, you were I keep getting these backdoor compliments. The person said, legit, when you first started, they were goofy songs, whatever, but you've actually become more of a songwriter, and some of these you're wasting on being dirty songs. You should make them real songs. And I said, well, if they're real songs, then nobody's going to listen to them. That's what I says to him. With all that, Nasaranka says, just got here. I genuinely can't stand Camp's writing. And then you came to the right place. Nash, you are, I hate it. It drives me nuts. Like I said, and if you just got here, if you didn't hear, the idea that I think he tries to think that he can cut corners. He'll cut corners and be the next Grant Morrison just because he does drugs. And it doesn't work that way. But I'm telling you, here's the weird thing. Like this indie book, and I want to get the right title. I Assorted Crisis Events. It's not bad. It's not. Here's the thing too. It's not at the level that I say. Like Ram V, a lot of times drives me nuts at DC, but I love some of his indie books. Like love them. Layla Starr is fantastic, and I did like Dawn Runner a lot. I thought it thudded at the end of it, but I really, really enjoyed it. So that I haven't gotten, I'm not like that with Dennis Camp, but I think that the idea where if the way that I would push it, I was just about to say, well, if you kind of like Dennis Camp, but you don't, I don't know that anybody kind of likes Dennis Camp. And I do think that there's weird people who end up really liking him, but maybe in a Tom King way that the only books they've ever read are Dennis Camp. Why would you hitch your wagon to him? He's kind of new and annoying and things. So I don't know. But that Assorted Crisis Events #1 was okay. I'm guessing from that solicit that it's just going to get wackier and wackier. But he's kind of trying to fashion himself as the wacky guy. He's like, the best is he thinks he's the next Grant Morrison. He's legit the next Cy Spurrier. There you go. That's not a compliment, by the way. I have to go through these now that I've talked that too much. These things always last way too long. But we do have some other cool books coming out, don't we? Yes, we do. We have 2 G.I. Joe books. The first one being G.I. Joe #6. I'm actually an issue behind G.I. Joe, I believe. So I have to catch up because I am really liking G.I. Joe. And it's, I think, one of the better things Joshua Williamson has done. And I'm not a real Transformers fan. So when everybody says the Energon stuff, I'm glad that I have G.I. Joe because I can say I'm in as well. Because it is G.I. Joe #6, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Jordi Belair. But this is what happens all the time. It's not Jordi Belair. That is the crazy, what's it? Now I can't even find it. This happens every time I talk about this book, and then I forget who it is that Gabe actually gives shit to Jordi Belair because of the colors, but you can tell me. $3.99, Duke versus Cobra Commander. It's all been leading to this, and the ending no one will see coming. Yeah, I like the art too, and it's like just escaping me. It's getting me angry now. We'll see if the chat has caught up to the stream and go with it. And people were also talking in the chat again about some Dennis Camp. I can't wait to see what Grant Morrison is writing next because Grant Morrison is coming back. I hear it's an Arkham sequel is what I heard. And then Nash says, I can forgive a writer who can make good indie books and bad big 2 books because at least they can write one good book. I actually think that there are writers who get really cramped up by the idea of writing established characters. You can kind of go with you have Ram V. Ram V likes to do some wacky things, and he likes to explore weird angles. And when he does the big two, a lot of times what happens is the thing that you think are the main characters then become side characters because he wants to get more involved in other things, and that's just him. And when he does it with indie characters of his own creation, he's more inspired. And then people are saying with Donny Cates, yeah, I actually, whether or not it's, a popular thing, I like Donny Cates. I actually used to talk to him too before he had his problems. And I talked about this the other day. His book, The Paybacks, is great. It's a really, really good book. I ended up where when I reviewed the final issue, I wrote this song and did this weird, like it was like a fake kind of singing type deal where it was really, really bad. Like I was at karaoke, so probably pretty accurate. And he really liked it. So that was kind of funny. And I did it like it was a singing review. And that was when I had some, ideas. Maybe I was on drugs then. I don't know. But actually, Edward's going with what I'm going to be talking about next. Oh, and Fear Monarch said, are you picking up the Kickstarter for the Transformers box set, Jim? No, I'm not. I just, it's funny because I when I'm on the aficionados and I get angry at a point because everything starts to be movies and cartoons, and I haven't seen anything in the past bunch of years, and then I feel bad, and but I've never. I don't know. I'm not proud of this, but it sounds like I am sometimes. I've never seen anything Transformers ever. I have not seen more than 3 seconds of the cartoon. I've never seen 1 second of any of the movies. What else is there? I read the book and I liked it, but it kept going, and I kept trying to explain to people, and they were getting mad at me that you would get to a cliffhanger and you would say, oh my God, like people would be like, where do you see the cliffhanger? And I'm like, I don't know who that is. And I'd have to look it up, and so it doesn't hit. Now, if the cliffhanger is Cliff Jumper, now I could go with that. That's pretty, yeah, I don't have any connection. Dylan on the aficionados, me and him, neither of us have the connection with it, but I just don't. But again, I realize when something's good and just not for me, and that Transformers book's really good. But the G.I. Joe book, I really enjoy, and I do have a bit more of a connection with G.I. Joe, and I thought it was really cool. At one point, I was going to end up doing a reading club with the old Marvel G.I. Joe stuff, and I never did get to do it, and it seems like it probably would have been a crazy undertaking. So maybe that's good. The next book, though, is the G.I. Joe Real American Hero Roadblock, and it is another one of the silent issues. And I think Ed was the one who just said he wasn't getting into the silent issues. I don't like gimmicks, so that kind of throws me off as much. It does kind of go for me as well. But in the meantime, and maybe it wasn't. Now I'm looking. Looking here and I'm losing track. And Fear Monarch says that's why it's perfect, Jim. You get all the early comics. See, I try to be diplomatic about it. It's the idea. I haven't not seen the transfer. It's not the idea that I keep missing them. Oh no, the cartoon just ended and I didn't get to see it. Or, oh man, I was going to go see the movie, but I got a flat tire. I just don't care. I don't have any sort of care for the Transformers at all, which was fun when Eric was on the show with me because he's a huge Transformers fan. So I would just make up the worst Transformers and ask if they're real. Like the one that would get him would be, I like the Transformer that's a milk truck that turns into an ice cream truck. And he would go, you can't have a Transformer that is a truck that turns into a truck. And then I would say, okay, well, then it's an ice cream truck that turns into a milk truck that then turns back into an ice cream truck. It's a triple changer. And then it would drive him nuts, and it would make me laugh so much. Or then I'd mix in things like it's an ice cream truck that turns into a Triceratops that then turns into an aircraft carrier. And it would drive him nuts. And it made me laugh so much. Edward actually did say if you had to read one or the other, Jim, Star Trek or Transformers, Yeah, it would be Sweet Tooth, by the way, Dungeon Crawler Carl, but then also an aircraft carrier and a Triceratops, the best dinosaur there ever was. Star Trek or Transformers? One of the funnier things that we ended up doing, me and Stork, who is the big Star Trek fan, we did for our book of the month, the 1 month way back, we did the G.I. Joe Transformers, the crossover. It was pretty bad. And though this past week we did a Tony Isabella Star Trek book from back, and that was worse. So this is like Sophie's Choice here. Both of them will drive me nuts, but if I had to, just to piss off Stork, I'd say Transformers. But if they had Star Trek versus the Transformers, I'd go with that. I did like the Star Trek Green Lantern that we did recently. I liked that when it came out, and I liked it again when we talked about it. But I'd probably go Transformers, but Star Trek gets wacky. Star Trek is, it is very talky, and, Transformers has some action. So I'd go there, but I wouldn't be happy with either. And that's the other thing too. That people get so mad when I say that I didn't see the Transformers movie back in the 80s or whatever. I haven't seen any of it. Transformers. I'm an adult. I wasn't then, but I just never got into it and never will. Never will, I say. The next book is a continuing bunch of craziness, but I'm going to throw it on here. Because I don't know, I might check it out just to see. But Medieval Spawn, #1, written by Rory McConville and Marco Itri on art, $3.99, not $2.99. Miniseries premiere. Medieval Spawn's past has been a mystery to most until now. The miniseries explores the background of one of the most enigmatic of all the Hellspawns, fighting dragons, wizards, and hordes of monsters. Oh my. Sir John of York, not York, PA, or I'll kill you, cuts a bloody path across history. Cover looks really cool. That looks really, really neat. Really keen on that one. Are there any others? I'm going through here. We'll go. I'm not seeing there. We have the Kodansha stuff that we don't talk about, but I'll even go. Rent a Girlfriend, Volume 30. I do like Rent a Girlfriend. And that would be it there. We also have that. This is great, isn't it? Oh, here's something that was mentioned earlier I could throw in, and maybe it's something else. I'm looking at something that looks funny. But the next one will be Solomon Kane by Patch Zurcher. I really get annoyed by him with this patch stuff. I don't know why. I every time it says that, I'm like, you're an adult. I want to call him Patches, though. But it's Patch Zurcher, art and writing. He was doing the stuff when we had it in the Sword of Conan, that whole deal, which was pretty cool. And I do like Solomon Kane. I think he's a really cool character. It's $4.99 from Titan Books. Solomon Kane is back. The second best Kane, because the best Kane, if you don't know, is Big Daddy Kane. The Sword of Vengeance slashes into his own new series. I bet you thought I was going to say The Wrestler, but no, Big Daddy Kane. Solomon Kane, he's no half-stepping. The Serpent Ring. I'm messing this all up. Kane battles from the Barbary Coast across southern Europe to the canals of Venice as a band of rogues forms around him in their quest for the fabled Serpent Ring of Set. It's the most much anticipated return of Solomon Kane from Patrick Zurcher, Superman, Iron Man, Savage Avengers, and Moon Knight. They say that, but it's issue 2, it says. It's already come back. Maybe it got delayed. They're talking about it. $4.99. I don't know. But I do like Solomon Kane. And I talked about this, I think, last night when I have on Audible, I have a whole collection. It's like the whole collection of Robert E. Howard stuff. And I actually really like the narrator. He's very dry, but it fits the deal. And I've been listening to it. I really like it. There's a couple Solomon Kane stories on that as well. I end up where I talk to a lot of people about the Beatles. On Audible, there is a Beatles bio. It's a biography, I guess, right? Is that what you'd call it? I almost called it a documentary because it seems, but it's like almost 50 hours long. And the guy who reads it, it's funny because he'll do impersonations, but it's even the women too. And it sounds so goofy. And he's like, and then Ringo said, "Hey boys, let's go here." And then Ringo's mom said, "Hey there, you can't do that." And that makes me giggle. He does a little better than me. Not much better, but it is kind of funny. but it was 50 hours, and I'm re-listening to it. I loved it so much. And just think of this. It's almost 50 hours, and it gets to the point where the Beatles have just released their first album. That's all it is. There's going to be 3 parts, and the guy's been working like 10 years on the second part. I don't know that I'm going to be alive to actually go through it and go all that with it. And I do realize now, I think I forgot to read the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero Roadblock because I got all tied up in things. That's written by Andrew Cranky. It's Cranky. Art by Charlie Adler, Dave McKeag, who actually, if that's the case, they do a lot of the stuff now with the deluxe deal over at The Walking Dead. And it is $3.99. Superstar Creators present unforgettable all new G.I. Joe silent missions. And we were talking earlier about the missions and the gimmicks and things like that. It is a gimmick, and some people, it's funny too, because a lot of times when I first started doing podcast and reviews, I looked at silent issues as like, really, what? You know, the letter wanted to go on vacation? It's like what people say about manga. Oh, what? You didn't want to hire a colorist? And I kind of got the idea like, oh, this is bull crap, like whatever, they're just doing it. Until you start reading ones that are kind of bad. And there's been a couple that were on this. And so when you do read a really good one, you do appreciate the storytelling going. But it says, the face of comic books changed for everyone. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, number 21, introduced fans to the silent interlude and action-packed story with no dialogue. Now in a standalone silent issue from Andrew Cranky, Bloodrick. Oh, I think I read some of that. That wasn't bad. Roadblock pits his 50 caliber machine gun. I thought it was calories. I'm like, that's pretty light in calories. Is that like the Coke Zero of guns? A machine gun against a Cobra convoy led by the high-flying Wild Weasel. Even on the cover, I mean, it is a silent issue, right? But on the cover, Rootin' Tootin' Roadblock is shooting this thing like it's a rail gun. That's going to make some noise, right? I said some of the funniest things were when they have almost silent issues. And you're like, I said, isn't every issue you could play out as almost a silent issue? If those people didn't talk, it'd be silent. It would. I'm going to throw in one more. Don't know what it's about, but I think I like the name, but also it's by a company that is legit a stone's throw away from me. And I've been invited twice to go there and look around, but I'm not doing that. I don't like meeting people, and I'd be very nervous, but it's Zenescope, and this one's Killer Cobra, The Hunt Begins #1, written by Joe Bruscia, and it doesn't have an artist listed. The newest and deadliest force in the Zenescope universe has arrived. Killer Cobra, a shadowy vigilante who strikes with the fury of 1,000 venoms, is on a mission to rid the world of evil. You look at it, too, it just looks like G.I. Joe, but also looks like the DC Cobra as well. One monster at a time. With his mastery of the Cobra style of Kung Fu and his lethal touch. Did you know who also was called Cobra? Dave Parker from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nothing, including the elusive cryptid Bigfoot. Not the Mothman, the Bigfoot. The big cheese will stand in his way. So it's this guy with the Cobra style Kung Fu is going to end up fighting the Bigfoot. That sounds pretty cool. I like some of the Zenescope stuff. And this one, it's a guy, so you don't even get the cheesecake cover that usually comes with it. Yeah, Fearmarnic, I've had some as well that I have liked some of the Zenescope stuff. It's one of those that you kind of like can have some fun with. I like the Bell book. That was the one that when that came out, I read the first issue. What happens with Zenescope, though, for me, is that you don't necessarily, you have a bunch of minis. So you'll have a mini series, then you'll come back with a one shot, then you'll have a special, then you'll have another mini, then you'll do this. I lose track of everything. I can't keep track of things that are just like, what? You mean issue number 13 comes after 12? Who would have thunk it? But when you do things, it's one of the things that I would have problems with, say, a Hellboy, something that deals mainly in miniseries or things like that, stuff at Image, where I'll get into something. I'll never be able to read the sequel because I'll never know about it or I'll lose track of it. But yeah, Dungeon Crawler Carl said Godzilla versus York, PA. We could only hope. I could just imagine those people, like, you have them running from Godzilla. They're tripping over, needles and shit like that. It's like Scranton. But Fearmarnic, yeah. What was it? What was the one that, was it the Winnie the Pooh? Was that what it was? I can't remember what it was now. Because I like that. They actually sent me like a big swag thing with that one too. Yeah, it was that, right? Because you ended up having all that going down. I thought that was really cool. And we reviewed it. We had a review on our channel as well when we did that. So that was really cool. Edward says he used to read everything Zenescope published. Well, then they relaunched and tried to build a universe. It was just too much. And that is the problem. That's what I was saying. When they do it too, and like I said, I really like Bell. And at one point I liked Robin Hood with a Y, but I couldn't keep track normally. And then when they did this whole universe, I get it, but it kind of took the individual books, and then I didn't know what the hell was going on. Never did. But Bell's cool. I like Bell a lot. I might have to go and Man Goat and Bunny Man was pretty good too. That was good. It's one of those. They're known mainly for the cheesecake deal and whatever, and you can tell that they really lean into that. They even have some like cosplay covers that really, to me, they should be in a brown paper bag. Pretty cool. But overall, I always lose track of their stuff, which I really do tend to like. They had what did they have recently? They had that Wizard of Oz one that I really liked as well. Me and Wes talked about it a bit. That was really cool. So yeah, there you go. They get most of the stuff they get is public domain stuff, and then they run with it, which is good. It's actually, they do very well for that concept, and have really like worked their way into making that universe. But again, I just like the individual books. But that is it. I think that's it. A lot of books in over an hour, getting near an hour and a half. I lost my voice. I should go and finish up last week's Marvel podcast, but this keeps happening to me. I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. It's going to be very late. People are going to be really, getting on my butt with the deal because I still want to do Superior Avengers from last week, a Steve Fox book that, lo and behold, wasn't terrible. But we'll see. But if you are paying attention, I did put up the DC podcast on YouTube today. If you want to hear it early, you can listen to podcast form on the regular feed. If you want to hear it even earlier, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/weirdscience. I do want to mention that coming up at the end of this month, we have a 5th week of books at DC, and that is an annuals week. And every time that happens, we end up having our main DC Comics podcast on the Patreon. It only happens a couple times a year, but when it does happen, it's a Patreon exclusive show. Everything's on there. So if you do enjoy, the show, you can go. And if you want to, you could actually go and get a free 7-day trial around that time. Don't do it now or it'll run out and then you'll be pissed. But you can get that and listen to it for free, basically, and see all the other things that we end up doing. Edward Hollis says, I have to go reread Zatanna #3. I already have a headache, dude. I don't need that. So me and Simon were losing our mind. It was weird, too, because that book was at one point, I thought it was on the spotlight. Then it wasn't. Then it was. Then it wasn't. So we ended up but me and Simon on our podcast, we talked about Zatanna and then followed that up with Challenges of the Unknown, which was even worse. But then we had DC Sonic, which was great. So hopefully I like some books better this week. I think that a lot of people they kept telling me that I was being too positive anyway. So at least, you realize that I haven't completely lost my mind. I still end up not liking things that stink, but other people, I had a lot of people say they liked Nightwing and I just hated it. I thought it was ridiculous, but everybody likes things that they like and don't like things they don't like is what they say. But with that, we'll get going. One of the things that I was going to play at the beginning, I ended up playing something wacky, but I will go out of this with a song that I wrote before, and it has a bit of a current deal because it was for the original Gotham City Sirens. And so I ended up doing a theme for that for the podcast. And since we're having a sequel, why not play it? Because everybody's looking forward to that one, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Now, it was inspired by, and I can't remember. I don't know why I start saying things when I know I can't remember who the band is. It was those girls that during the shutdown, they ended up playing, the young girls, the punk band that were playing in the library. You know them. That's who it was inspired by. But I'm going to hit that right about now. But thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Please check the show notes for this, the description, whatever you call it here, and maybe check out some of our things, including maybe checking out our Patreon, which we do put in a lot of work. We have a lot of shows, some things, that are really cool, and other things that are even cooler. So with that, thank you. And I will actually see, these are the starts and stops here. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you the next time that we'll be on the channel will be on Friday night to do the Absolute DC show. So we'll be doing that. You have Absolute Martian Manhunter and Absolute Wonder Woman. Gray is going off to do some of his karate, so he can't do it, but I'm going to get Zach probably to help me out on that one. So if you are somebody who listens to that or watches it, I will see you then. But if not, we'll do this show again next week. Also, our Best of the Week Sunday night at 7, and me and Sully talking comics around 11 every Sunday morning. That's it. That is it. I promise. Here is the song, Sayonara Suckers. I'll talk to y'all later.
Harley, Selena, and Ivy too, teaming up together, but what can they do? Trying to stop an online game. Punchline has a plan that sounds pretty insane. Exo Punch, it's not enough. Gotta get my ass online and level up. Gotham City Sirens. I have no idea what this book is about, but it's Gotham City Sirens. I hope there is a cheat code so I can get out. We got cowboy himbos and buffalo, people who are zombies from drinking the XO. Perry is Harley's bodega guy. He likes Ivy and we know why. We know why. We know why. Gotham City Sirens. I have no idea what this book is about, but it's Gotham City Sirens. I hope there is a cheat code so I can get out. Gotham City Sirens. I have no idea what this book is about, but it's Gotham City Sirens. I hope there is a cheat code so I can get out, but it's Gotham City Sirens. I have no idea what this book is about, but it's Gotham City Sirens. I hope there is a cheat code so.
Well, every time I leave you there at home, it doesn't take you long before you're not alone. Baby, it's starting to feel like I'm being used. Oh, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Yeah, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Baby, you're giving me a heart attack, doing all those guys behind my back. Baby, it feels like I'm being abused. Oh, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Yeah, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Let's go! Baby, why you always fool around? You're doing every single guy in town. You know, I wish that I could stop loving you. Oh, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Yeah, you keep getting laid, but I keep getting screwed. Baby, you keep getting laid, and I keep getting screwed.